Would you spend $300,000, $400,000 on a Cessna 206 with a run-out engine? When I say run out, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean, it's past TBO by, a few hours. That's the question we're going to answer today, because I am here. I'm a little bit early to a pre-purchase inspection in Shelton, Washington at Sanderson Field to inspect a 2003 T206H. And we're going to see if this airplane is in good condition other than the engine. Well, actually, see if the engine is in good enough condition for the potential buyer to fly it for a couple of years while he orders a brand new engine from Lycoming. We got to inspect this airplane with my checklist, check logbooks, continuity, make sure the serial numbers match what's on the airplane itself. There's a lot. It can take a little bit. People get screwed on airplanes all the time. And in fact, I have another video I'm going to make of a plane that I have at my hangar with an owner that did not get a pre-purchase inspection, got 3 hours in, and filter full of metal. So, an oil filter full of metal. So anyways, pre-purchase inspections are pretty important. I'll see if I can get some video and pictures of this 206 and maybe go over the logbooks with you and whatever I've found during this inspection. See if, answer that question. Would you spend that kind of money? Assuming, I can't spend that kind of money because I don't have that kind of money. But if I did have that kind of money and a 206 was the airplane I was looking for, would this be the one that I buy? Would it be the one that you buy? I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking. Let me know in the comments. So I couldn't get any video while I was actually doing any work, but really, as you'll see in a minute, inspection work is pretty boring. Boring to watch, at least. Here's the interior. I didn't turn on the avionics because I didn't. There was a lot of people in the hangar, so not only is recording while I'm working distracting, but also, I've got to get work done. This is me moving really fast. This is the boring part of inspecting. I'm just looking for whatever there is to see. So we finished that inspection. Got my checklist here, multiple pages. That inspection essentially took all day. It's a really nice plane. It's kind of, you get these newer planes compared to the old ones. Most of the planes, it seems, that I'm dealing with are 1960s, 1970s planes. And if you think about it in car terms, if we were dealing with 1960s, 1970s cars, you'd expect all kinds of stuff to be broken, linkages need to be replaced, joints are gone, bearings are gone, transmission, all kinds of issues. And if you, had a runner of the 1960s, 1970s, you'd kind of be wrenching on it all the time. And it would be normal. That's what you would expect. So with airplanes, though, they're maintained at such a higher standard, as they should be, that, on a pre-purchase inspection, I'm still going to find stuff, but there's always things that you have two levels. You have a level here that's just pure airworthiness. Is it safe? Is it airworthy? Was the last annual's pencil whipped? Was the last engine overhaul done in a shitty, crappy way? I've run across engine overhauls done by shops that have been around for 35 years that were complete shysters. Because I had to disassemble them and replace them. Parts in them. One of them, man, this thing had the cylinders honed, and they were straight honed. Like, normally you have a crosshatch when you hone a cylinder. No. That's not what happened. This thing was straight honed. I've never seen it in my life on a car, motorcycle, tractor, nothing. And so all the scratches, it was like they put in the hone and just left it there and just spun it in place and didn't, move it around. Anyways, getting off track there a little bit. So with these airplanes, the newer ones, 2003, and also because airplanes are maintained to such a higher standard, this plane is really nice. So, but we do have an over TBO engine. It's got 2,095 hours on it. The TBO for a Lycoming factory new engine is 2,000 hours. Lycoming factory rebuilt is 2,000 hours. I heard something about the latest. They have an engine now that's going to have a TBO at 2,200 hours, and that's just paperwork, though. Like, they like to pat themselves on the back. At the end of the day, an old engine has a couple of issues. You have an hours issue, and then you have time in service issue, like how old it is. Seals, gaskets, they get old. And so even on a lower time engine, if it's 30-year-old engine, it might be leaking some oil around some places. These aircraft engines, once they get a few, I'd say over 1,000, 1,500 hours, they often, not always, but often just are kind of purging oil out of all these little things. You can get in a real trap trying to chase oil leaks. So this engine here on this airplane, it has that, oil coming out of a lot of different places. It's not as nearly as bad as many airplanes that I've seen. So we're 95 hours over TBO. Now this leads into why do a pre-purchase inspection on such a new airplane? Well, this airplane had its last annual December 29th. It's now July, last week of July. And all the compressions, I'll read you the compressions that I got. The ones in the logbook, I don't have a logbook in front of me, but they were all roughly the same. So starting with cylinder number 1, we have 74 over 80. They're all over 80 PSI. It's a differential compression test. So we push 80 PSI into the cylinder, and then we have another gauge on the same unit, and the second gauge, as the cylinder leaks down, as the pressure leaks out of the cylinder, the PSI in the actual cylinder, as opposed to what we're feeding it, it finds a happy medium where the air going in and the air leaking out reaches equilibrium. So the first cylinder 1 was 74 PSI, then 2 is 76, 3 is 20. We'll come back to that. Then 72, 76, 73. So 20 PSI, where was it leaking? That's the next question. It was all leaking out of the exhaust valve. So the inspection was a couple of days ago. Today is 2 days later, and I've come back to address this leaking cylinder so that we can see if the cylinder needs to be replaced or we can rescue it. Exhaust valve is going to leak for a couple of different issues. One is sticky. It's not closing all the way. Or it's got a bad actual seat isn't clean, like a little corroded, or multiple spots where it's got carbon deposits on it or something. And then sometimes there's a simple carbon deposit. The simple carbon deposit is like one piece that's just stuck right there on the valve seat. And you can go and do a run up and get it nice and hot, and it'll hammer that carbon down. And then you're good again, you're sealing. In this case, after our run up, it came up to 40 PSI, but that's not enough. So what I'm going to come here to do today, or what I'm here to do today, is grind the valve. And we can do that with the cylinder on. These cylinders on this engine are $5,500 each, just for the single cylinder. And that's a complete cylinder, a piston, rings, and even comes with the gaskets to install it. And then it takes a few hours to install a cylinder, and then so you've got maintenance costs for the shop too. So it's not a cheap thing to do, whereas I can spend a couple hours, grind the valve seat in place. That involves pulling the rockers off and pulling the keepers out, pulling the springs off, and then you put up some tubing on there, you put some grinding paste through the spark plug hole onto the valve seat, and then you do the thing. spin around with the drill, and then clean it all up, and then test the pressures again, do another compression test. Even cold, it should come right back up into the 60s, 70s. And then if you run it, it'll seat itself a little bit better, and should come up even a little bit more to its normal static. So that's what we're going to do today. I'll see about getting some video of that procedure. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. That middle cylinder is the one I'm going to be working on. Got to get all that stuff out of the way, most of it. Take that cap off there so I can get the rocker shaft out. Underneath it, pretty much the only thing comes out is a spark plug right there. And this is just kind of mid-operation, showing you where we're at in steps. That rocker right there on the right has to come off next. And I gotta take that plate off still. Got the rocker off, got the shaft out, got the rocker off, put the shaft back in because that's I gotta use that to lever down on the spring. But so everything's out and it is nice and smooth. So it's not a sticky valve. I've got to lap the valve face now. So what I do is put that rope in there, and then I can hold the cylinder up against the rope and up against the valve face to hold it, so I can get a rubber coupling on there. Rubber coupling goes to a drill, and I'll zip tied in. There it is spinning. Already put the lapping compound on. When you spin the drill back and forth, they don't keep going in one direction. Go a little bit in one, a little bit in the other. And then we get a nice smooth grind in there with no grooves in it. Here we have the new compression. It's all ground out. I've put it back together again, but we got 64 PSI. Which is the 65 was the last annual. The reason why that valve had an issue is because the rotator cap stopped rotating and it got a wear in there. So those are kind of a standard replacement item anyways when you do this procedure. And that's a wrap. This airplane is going to be off to its new owner.